If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And please join me on my website at nanice.com. Thank you.
It's your time for Chai with Nanice. Get ready for substance, clarity, change, and especially empowerment. Get ready to turn over stones, uncover stories, and get to the heart of the matter in every area of your life. Any mood runs, any emotion flies, and your dreams are within your grasp. There are no limits or boundaries, and your comfort zone is out of reach, yet it's the safest place you will ever be. Come in, sit down, and have some chai with Nanice.
Welcome. Come in, sit down, have some chai with me. I'm wondering, have you ever felt like you just weren't yourself? That's an interesting concept, because what does it mean to not be yourself? How can you not be yourself? Yet so many of us experience this sense of not being ourselves. Sometimes it happens for a day or a period of time, and other times it happens throughout a lifetime. From my own experience, when I was even a child into my teens, my 20s, I always felt like I wasn't myself. But no matter how I tried to discover, uncover, and live from myself, it eluded me. It was out there somewhere. It wasn't inside of me. And so I went on not feeling like myself. And most of the time I didn't even think of it, because you learn to get used to anything. But the truth is, I wasn't myself, because I didn't know who I was. And from working with people for many, many years all over the world, I often hear the same thing, that they just don't feel like themselves. So how can a person not feel like themselves? That's the question of the day. You see, there's a natural state of wholeness, a state where consciousness is unified, connected, oneness. And when we haven't yet realized that state of wholeness, that state of oneness, then there's a division. And it's not just a division from ourselves to the world and to others, it's a division within ourselves. So it's like if we feel separate from anything, if we feel divided from anything, really that's just a reflection of being separate or divided from ourselves. And the permanent cure to finally being yourself is to settle into yourself, allowing yourself expression, creativity, and knowing that you are all one, that everything that you see around you, everything you experience is also that same one. So today, we're going to talk about natural states of wholeness and undivided consciousness. My amazing guest today is no other than Mukti. Mukti has been a student of Adyshanti since he began teaching in 1996, and together they officially founded the Open Gate Sangha. Previously, Mukti studied the teachings of Paramahana, excuse me if I'm pronouncing things terribly, Yogananda for over 20 years. Adyshanti formally welcomed Mukti, his wife, as associate teacher of Open Gate Sangha. She offers private meetings, leads monthly meditations, and is available both for groups and intensives by invitation. In her teaching, she points audiences back to their natural state of wholeness and undivided consciousness. She's licensed in acupuncture and certified to teach Hatha Yoga, and she loves the experience of all in form as well as the formless. Well, welcome, Mukti. How are you today?
I'm doing quite well, Nanice. It's a pleasure to be on the air with you.
Awesome. I am just honored. I am honored. I was looking forward to this for a long time. So thank you for accepting my invitation and having chai with me.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. You're welcome. I have a little photograph of you here, too, so I feel like we're in the room together.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So can you share what your definition of wholeness means, or natural state of wholeness?
Sure. Let's see what comes out. I haven't been asked this question precisely like this before.
Awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, because really, ultimately, the wholeness that I'm speaking of is beyond definition. So, so knowing that I'll fail, I'll just attempt to do as best I can.
Yeah.
So When the wholeness that I'm speaking of is in contrast to the sense of inner division that we might have when we find ourselves primarily in thought, fixating on a belief or an idea that creates a sense of a position that separates us from what we know to be true, or it separates us from intimacy with others or intimacy with life. And so the wholeness that you're asking about is the net result when those positions are relinquished, when those things that those thoughts or ideas that cause us a sense of separation are relaxed out of. What remains is a sense of wholeness that was there all along, but it was not sensed in our body, in our physicality, in our nervous system, because our energy was being pulled into identification with those beliefs or ideas that we had that were causing the inner division.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So recently, I was shown that separation is really a gift. So, very often we think of separation like that's the thing not to do, and we want to move towards oneness, or at least that's how I envisioned it in my mind, move away from separation, move to oneness. And a couple of days ago, I was in a meditation, and I was shown that without separation, we wouldn't be able to have the experiences that we have.
Yes.
Just like, like all the cells in our body, we're not conscious of them because they're part of us. There's that oneness that is our whole self, our whole physical self. So we can't experience each of those cells. But if it was separate from us, if we took, some cells out, then we can look at them under a magnifying, lens or anything. So it's just, so I was shown that this thing that we call separation is a gift, so that we can have the experiences that we have, that we can experience life, that we can experience this life. And if we didn't come in to the existence with separation or forgetfulness that we're really one, because that's really what it is, then we wouldn't be able to have these gigantic experiences and learn and grow from them. We wouldn't be able even to experience another human being or a tree if we weren't separate. And so since I got this, I just, it was really cool, because I just started loving separateness, which
great.
Which I realized I had judged before, right?
Right. That probably the separateness was kept separate before, huh?
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah,
that's good. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah, it's kind of like difficult for us to see white without black.
Right.
We need these contrasts to highlight their opposite. So certainly, separation is a very necessary thing, and in fact, a gift.
Yes.
To highlight a sense of wholeness.
Yes. Yeah. What brought you on this path to wholeness?
Wow, that's a great question. I think it was wholeness itself, like a call from consciousness, a call from spirit that just registered in my system as just an innate curiosity and a type of yearning. A yearning for that wholeness. It was it maybe I could put it this way. It was as if that wholeness was calling me home. And I just felt that call inside me, at a very young age. And I think that it was probably sensed as something more real, like a direction. I was looking for something more real in a world where there was a lot of, things that didn't make sense, that seemed, not in harmony. And I think the part of me that just had a knowing that there must be a perspective of wholeness or harmony. And I may not have had those words then, but there was just something in me that knew that there must be another perspective.
Yeah. How old were you when the journey started?
Oh my gosh. I mean, certainly, you know, a youngster in grade school. I mean, I would say probably some of my earliest memories of that yearning were, I guess I was probably around 6 or so.
Wow. That's really young. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember at that age, like I said, I would have like flashes of all knowing, but they went so quick I could never grasp them. I even like now remember when I had these flashes. You know, it's so ingrained in my memory, and I couldn't get it back. But in that instant, that flash, I would know the truth of all, and then it was gone.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of children, you know, maybe perhaps all, I don't know, but have these experiences. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But it wasn't until I was actually 12 that I can say that I really started searching for answers. And, you know, this is when I got a public library card, you know, back in New York, and just pretty big libraries. And I was checking out books on everything, on paranormal and astral projection and all kinds of books on spirituality and oneness. And, yeah, I'd walk around junior high reading these books in the halls, and it really wasn't a secret why I didn't have any friends. They thought I was strange, and I was. Yeah.
And then you grow up and you realize pretty much everybody's strange in their own way, huh?
Yeah. If somebody's not strange, then they're not being their real selves. If they're not strange, they're running a program to fit in and be normal.
Right.
Yeah.
They're under an illusion that there's actually is a normal, I think.
Right? That's so funny. When you look at things, it's easy to see that our societies, and that's most societies in the world, have created that idea of normal. They've convinced people this is normal, and to fit in, you've got to be this. And that's even what the census that we get. I think that's really what the census, it lets people know if they're normal, and if they're not normal, you know, then they move towards normalcy. This is, I don't officially, when I saw this, I thought it was like, oh, you know, we're being controlled. But then I got that it's really been a survival program, because it kept us, it guaranteed survival of the species. Yeah. And now we get to wake up.
It does create some semblance of a type of order. But I do think that just even like a feeling like that there is a normal that we should, or being asked to come up to, does create a sense of disconnect inside, because, you know, or maybe a sense of inner division, because there's some part of us that can never match up, never match up to an idea. Huh?
Yeah.
So it's fun to joke about it a bit.
Yeah. The other day I was thinking about this concept of awakening, and what I was shown is that, I want your opinion here. So, what I was shown was that in order to wake up to, you know, the truth of who we are, that it has to come from the sense of you know, knowing our intrinsic worth. That somebody who's, you know, feels unworthy or worthless or undeserving and, you know, pushes themselves down, they're actually moving away from the awakening. Because I think the awakening is just too great. It's just so huge. I mean, it's ownership of one's intrinsic power, which is infinite. And I think that could be really scary for a lot of people. And so if they're, you know, suppressing their power, it's leading them away from that path of awakening. What do you think about that?
You know, I could definitely see that perspective. I'd have to say that, you know, there's no way I could honestly answer the question unless I knew, like, everyone who'd ever awakened and like, take a survey. I mean, I believe that there have been people who, you know, despite their fears or despite their feelings of not being worthy, have been just been visited by a shift of consciousness that wasn't something they even knew was possible, or knew that they would have chosen to pursue or something.
So coming out of left field.
Yeah. So for some people that has happened. So it's difficult to say, but certainly to be that knowingly, one must put aside a sense of that fixed position in I'm not worthy.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
if the awakening is of the nature of some of the awakenings that I speak of or come into contact with, that sense of locus of self, of me or ego, would be would shift out of the center to such a degree that it would not need to be a powerful ego or a powerless ego. It's just simply not center stage at all anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Beautiful. I hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, but I do get the sense of what you're saying, because if everybody's energy, if it's not everybody, if a person's energy is really being consumed by this sense of I'm not worthy, that doesn't leave a whole lot of energy freed up for consciousness to for a person to be open enough for consciousness to kind of sneak in and mysteriously, affect a shift in human consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So, I would love to hear your definition of awakening. What does that mean to you?
Oh gosh, I mean, to me, I hear the term used all the time. I mean, it's used for so many different kinds of awakenings, and even in my own experience, there's a lot of different types of awakenings that I've either directly come to know through first-hand experience or through working with people. There can be awakenings of heart. There can be awakenings from certain beliefs or identifications. There can be awakening from a sense of separate self, like the sense of me or ego being at the center of things. There can be an awakening to see that me or ego structure doesn't fundamentally exist outside of a thought. There can be awakening to, let's say, a sense of the emptiness of this world of form. There can be an awakening to the sense that emptiness is one and the same as the form, and that's none other than oneself. So one might say that that might also be termed an awakening to oneness. So there's lots of different shifts that can happen in human consciousness, and I think in general what they share is some falling away of a sense of central locus, either in a given center, like the heart center, or the mind center, the belly center, which is more, rooted in a sense of emptiness, ultimately. Or it can be, just a shift out of a given belief structure. Does that answer to your question?
Yeah, that was a very, very, very intensive explanation. Thank you. Yeah. Which leads me to a question about emptiness, and that is, how does that relate to this experience of wholeness?
Yeah. Well, ultimately, I don't see them as two different things. What's tricky about the realm of communication is that we approach conversation or we look at things from a given vantage point. So it's difficult in the mind, especially with the connotations of the word emptiness, to kind of look at something from what the mind believes would be an empty perspective, and to still be able to call it whole. And there's really no reconciling that, because the mind is limited by these vantage points, right?
Yeah.
But when you relax out of a sense of thought, I mean, even like, for example, just in the room that you're in, the room each of the listeners are in.
Yes.
I mean, you could take a look at something in the room. Let's say, let's just say it's your hand, and you could have the thought, "This is my hand," and we might say, "Oh, this is an expression of life or wholeness that's in this form called my hand." And then as we, get quiet and kind of look at our hand, just almost like we've never ever seen it before, just like it's a mystery unto ourselves.
Yes.
There may be a sense that what's looking through our eyes is just almost looking out of these empty, just out through our eye sockets, just almost like it's just like emptiness, looking out at our hand and not knowing what it is, and not even calling, our hand separate from that sense of spirit or awareness or consciousness or emptiness that's looking at the hand. And until we have a thought that what's looking at the hand is separate from the hand itself, or until we have the thought, my hand or hand, there's really no delineation between what we might call that kind of empty awareness that's looking at the hand and the form called hand, which we might put in the camp of wholeness, right? But prior to thought, our sense of ourselves as that aware mystery that's looking out at this mystery called hand could be said perhaps by one person to be called empty. Emptiness, looking at emptiness, mystery looking at mystery. And you could easily see, like, from a person who's like used to looking at things slightly different vantage points, think, oh, that's life looking at life, like fullness looking at fullness. Yes. And often people kind of have a disposition that, or even just like a given phase of their life stream that kind of emphasizes one or the other, and they dance back and forth between the two sometimes.
Yeah. Would you say that we only can really see anyone or anything from the space of emptiness? Because until we are empty, we're full of so many beliefs and perceptions and stories and, filters and all of that we really can't see anyone or anything. But when we drop down into this place of emptiness where those stories and those beliefs and those filters vanish, and we experience ourselves as empty, but then we can see. What would you say to that?
Well, that sounds like it's your experience, right? That's very well put.
Yeah.
Is that how you experience things?
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Me too,
awesome.
definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
And sometimes, when sometimes there can be like kind of a mix of how it registers in our system. It can be an openness that's both empty and paradoxically full at the same time.
Yes, because that's really the only way to be full is from an empty space. If it's not empty first, then you can't experience wholeness, because there's stuff there that is about separation and fear and all that and whatnot. Yeah. So, that's really, I love that.
Yeah, I love it too. And it doesn't make sense to the mind, does it? Like how emptiness and fullness, or like a sense of being totally open and without, position and available to, let's say, relating to another being, can be there simultaneously to being fully present. And how can that empty full exist at the same time? Maybe we couldn't like land on that in thought, but somehow there's a knowing that inside us that has no problem reconciling the two.
Right. How brilliant.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thought.
Yeah. Who would have thought? I say that. I'm like, who would have thought? That's so awesome. That's awesome. I know when I look back, past relationships, one in particular, this old boyfriend, and we split up many, many years ago, and there were a lot of problems, and I realize now when I speak with him or have contact with him that I don't have those beliefs, or I'm not projecting my stuff onto him, and I'm not needing him to show up a certain way, that I'm empty. And from this empty place of no filters, no beliefs, no stories, etc., I can actually see him. I can see him, which is what he wanted all the time. And once I got that, then that's all anybody ever wants, just to be seen. Just to be seen, really seen. That's love. I believe that's the expression of love on this planet. Just to see and be seen. Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, also to show up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because you can't be seen until you show up. Right? People are waiting to show up. People are waiting to be seen. People are waiting. They don't want to show up until they're seen. Right? I see this in relationships, right? But really, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
You have to show up first to be seen. Right?
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then sometimes you may or may not be seen, but there's a just to be the seeing itself is enough.
Right.
To show up and to be willing to see.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's the most beautiful experience, to really see someone else, to really be a witness to them.
Yeah.
For me personally, it fills me, it overflows me with such joy. I learned this years ago. I had taken my kids down to Lake Powell. We do that every year, and we had gotten a wakeboard, and we were, just all learning, and I'm thinking, I'm never going to get up on that thing, and lo and behold, I did, and I felt really good and proud about it. It was a really fun experience. And then after that, my son Clay, who was probably about 9 at the time, and he's like, suddenly, he hadn't wanted to do it, and suddenly, all of a sudden, he knew he could do it. He says, I can do it now. I can do it, right? Because he imagined doing it. I could do it. So he gets out in the water and immediately gets up on the wakeboard. And he's like doing these tricks. It's the first time up on a wakeboard, and he's doing these tricks that took me like years to manage to get. And watching him, I completely disappeared, and I was in so much joy in witness of him and his experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great snippet. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that really is what brings us joy. What my experience is that joy doesn't come from, seeing ourselves necessarily. Joy comes from really seeing someone else from open eyes and an open heart. That's where the joy comes. Yeah. Yeah. And without, experiencing myself as separate from someone else, I wouldn't know that like it is.
Yes. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm imagining, and I'd like to know your perspective on this, I'm imagining that as I embrace and have gratitude for separation, and it moves into an experience of oneness, that oneness has so many more dimensions at that point.
How so? How do you picture that more dimensions of oneness? Like, I'd love to feel into what you're saying.
Yeah. So I'm seeing that the oneness without this concept or experience rather of separation, it knows itself as singularity, as oneness without the full range of experience. And I see that when we have these experiences of separation, that it gives us greater experience. And so what I'm trying to say is, so we have these experiences of separation, and as we return to oneness, now we have a greater knowing of everything possible. Not that we know everything possible. It's a greater knowing So it's like almost like we have to experience separation to experience the extent of oneness.
Yes. I think this gets back to what we were beginning our conversation with, just really beautifully, where you were talking about separation as a gift, and often it does the way, like a simple way of talking about it would just be, we know things by their opposite. We know black by white and white by black, for example, and without that sense of separation, we wouldn't be able to appreciate those times when we don't feel separation at all.
Right.
In fact, it's highlighted, when we have moments of oneness, you could say. However, I don't want to leave the listeners with the sense that that there need be value placed on separation. I mean, yes, it's important to not. If we see it as a gift, then we are not in argument with it, right?
Right.
So, which is only more painful, right?
Because that's the pain.
Exactly.
And separation isn't the pain, but it's the argument with it, as you so brilliantly put.
Exactly. Yeah, that creates all the struggle and the suffering. But just to kind of hold it tenderly, because it's also not necessary, not that you're doing this, but I just want to bring this forward. It's also not necessary to value separation to the degree where we believe that we have to have separation in order to experience oneness, and that we have to have both together, because there is a perspective that is enduring always, that is always whole in and of itself, even when in our human experience, or maybe in our thoughts, we create an experience of separateness. There's always that which is bearing witness to our experience, our thoughts, that mystery of being that looks out our eyes, or that exists in that knowingness of heart, that is not dependent in any way on a sense of separateness. Nor is it touched by that sense of separateness.
Of course.
Yeah.
It never loses itself. It's always present. We can play a game of separation, because it really is a game, and we're still whole. There's no separation that ever happens. Yeah. And wholeness, oneness. It's inevitable because it is us, and anything else, anything other than wholeness or oneness, is really just an illusion, a story playing itself out.
Yeah.
So and then we discover ourselves as one again. It's cool. It's cool. Yeah. Life is pretty cool when you say, right?
Yeah. And that which knows itself as either oneness or separateness, just that inner knowing, is that ground of all possibility, which I think you might have been pointing to a few minutes ago when you were talking about when this whole greater sense of all possibility. Because it's a sense almost of, if I could word it this way, although it's more of a wordless experience, would be residing as the source of all possibility.
Wow. Beautiful. You have a beautiful way with words.
Thank you.
I know a lot of these things that we're talking about are hard to put in words, and you do a brilliant job.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
You're welcome.
I've had a little practice. It's also, just I think it's comes a little bit easier to me because I find a lot of assistance with my body. So I kind of sense how things energetically register in my physical system, and I kind of like report from how how energy is registered in that way. So
you can feel the energy in your system, and that's how. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even most of us can. We may not be always aware of it, but just even like a word like.
How that word resonates, yeah.
Yeah, like the word source, or the word like prior to, the source that's prior to thought, or mystery of being, or if you hang out there in just that sense of even just the connotation of the word.
Yeah.
Let's say mystery of being, and you hang out there. If you had to describe it and you get the feel of it, you could see how someone might say, like, this is the ground of all possibility. And so the words, I think, come from the direct experience that we each have.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah. Well, I don't know about you, but lately a lot of people are asking me, what I think is going to happen, in the coming years, in 2012 and all that. And I would love for you to tell me what it is that you see and anticipate, right?
Well, if you're asking me what I think is going to happen, I'd say I don't think about it. I don't think about it at all.
And why is that?
Because I guess I don't hang out in thought to the extent where I really place a lot of stock in it.
Yeah.
I guess like regardless of what I think, it doesn't really get me anywhere because we all find out when it arrives.
Yeah. So the perspective that I come from is that we are actually creating the future with our thoughts and imagination. And so, I choose to participate in that creation by seeing the future as, harmony throughout the world and absolute abundance and resources and health and prosperity and all those things, and working together in communities and local communities and greater communities and world communities, and really having this experience of oneness in the physical form. And the reason that I think about that is because I think that what I've been shown, I should say, is that in order to manifest that future, that we must imagine it, and if enough of us imagine it, then it's going to be created. It's like nothing happens before there's a spark, and that spark is imagination.
Yeah. Well, what I'd be curious about, Nanice, is like before you think about future or like 2012 or something. I imagine that or would it be true that what's more fundamental to the way you're describing how you move in the world, what takes absolute precedence in, like, where are you moving from? What's the most important thing for you with that? Like, where does that just sense of wanting to do that for the world come from?
Yeah, good question. I love that. And it's this place of just absolute love for the planet and every being and every bit of energy on this planet. It's love. Yeah. It's love. It feels like it's like Christmas Eve, It's like before Christmas. Yeah, that's what it feels like to me. I feel like we're in Christmas Eve. It sparkles, and I believe anything can happen. Anything can happen. But I also believe that if enough of us, if just enough consciousness, and I was shown that it was like about 30% of the world's population, imagine, world peace and harmony and abundance, that it will be brought in. And I absolutely know that it will be. Yeah. And, and having said that, am I attached to it having to be any certain way? No. I'd love to be wrong. I love to be wrong because it stretches me. Yeah, it stretches me. Yeah, I would be like, huh, who would have thought? Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think what you're speaking to, part of what you're speaking to matches with my experience, which is, I think that it's this basic love that we have, or when we're really in tune with what's important and dear to us, we move in the world just because that's important and dear to us,
right.
Not because we need to, you know, necessarily ward off a certain future.
No.
Yeah, and I think if we just stick with that, then that's enough.
That's enough.
I mean, at least it's enough to feel that we're aligned with what's dear.
Yes.
You know?
Absolutely.
And it doesn't need to be, you know, for what the future will look like, but because it's our nature to love now in present time.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I would love to point out something that comes up when you're talking, which is just this general principle that I've seen, that whatever you put your attention on or whatever you give your energy to, it grows in your experience or in the experience of the collective of humankind.
Exactly.
So I think it seems to be, from everything I've seen, just sort of like a basic law of the universe, that whatever you give yourself to, whatever you put your attention on, will grow. And like you're saying, imagine if a whole lot of people put their attention on the same matters of importance. Just imagine that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Which is already happening. Yeah.
It's already happening. It's as far as I'm concerned, it's done. It's guaranteed. It's a done deal. Yeah. I can't even imagine anything other than world peace and harmony and abundance. I can't even imagine anything other. Yeah.
Well, it's great. It's a great expression to say it's a done deal, because that's what my teacher Adyshanti would often point to. He would say, which was just so striking when I first heard it. You know, he'd say, before you sit down to meditate and strive to find peace, ask yourself, is peace present here already?
Oh, wow. That it's not something to find.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That changes everything.
Changes everything, and it's what you sensed. You know, it's a done deal.
Yeah, it's
a done deal because it already is so.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. Thank you for that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we only have a few minutes left, so would you be so kind to share your contact information at any upcoming events that you have, or anything else that you'd like to promote to the world?
Oh, I would love to. Thank you.
Awesome.
Basically, if you're interested in looking at some of my written teachings, or listening to free clips, or finding out about the events I do, or how to reach me, to contact me, any of you listeners, to speak by phone. I do private sessions on the phone. Any of those things, you can go to www.muktisource.org. So that's MUKTI source SOURCE.org. And I will be in, I think given that this is a LA audience, and I'm sure much broader, but I will be in LA this Friday, January 29th, from 7:30 to 9:30, and Saturday the 30th from 9:30 to 5:30 at the Unitarian Universalist Church in Studio City at 12355 Moore Park Street. Zip is 91604 for all you map questers.
Awesome.
But you can find all that out at muktisource.org, and I'll be giving a talk on Friday night. Huh?
Can you spell your website for everybody?
Mukti Source, MUKTISOURCE.org. And yes, I'll be in LA giving a talk on Friday night, and then I'll open it up to dialogue. And then Saturday I'll give a few talks interspersed by silent meditation. It's a one-day silent retreat.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool.
So,
And what last words of wisdom do you have for our listeners?
great question. Be well.
Be well. Awesome. Awesome. And that is what I wish for you, my dear friend Yuki. Be well. Be well. And shine as you already do. As you already do. And thank you so much for the great work that you do in this world. It's beautiful.
Thank you, Nanice. Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And I hope to be in contact soon and maybe do this again if you'd like. This was awesome.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And to all the listeners out there, I look forward to meeting and talking to any of you as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Vicky. Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Thank you, too. So, the truth is, you are already whole, that you already one consciousness, and one consciousness, all of consciousness. And that to have this beautiful and amazing and miraculous earthly experience, separation occurs. It happens in order for you to know yourself better. So here we go. We're separate, and then eventually we see ourselves, and in seeing ourselves in separateness, we once again return to the experience of whole. And when we do return to the experience of whole, we realize that we've been whole all the time, and that we've just been dreaming of separation in order to find our way home. It's kind of like playing a game, a board game. So this is where you start, and this is where you get out. This is the maze. This is where you start. This is where you get out. And when you get out, you return home with the knowledge of the mystery, with the knowledge of the maze, with the knowledge of the game. And that is an invaluable experience. Invaluable. You are whole and perfect right now. There's nothing you need to do, say, think differently. Your wholeness is guaranteed. And if you are experiencing yourself as anything less than wholeness, that is simply an illusion. It's simply a story. And like all stories, it will eventually be dropped. You can choose to start dropping that story today, tomorrow, next week, or next month, but it will be dropped. And I believe that we have great assistance from the energies that are shifting on this planet and shifting inside of us, that we are being raised to a greater, higher vibration, and so doing a higher dimension of experience and of being. And so, what is your purpose? What is your job here on this planet? Well, what I've been shown is that everybody that's here now came here to complete this mission of waking up the world and bringing peace and harmony and abundance to every being on this world. How you do it is through your gifts. Your gifts are simply what you enjoy doing the most. That's all. That's how we've come to facilitate global change. That's how we've come to facilitate world harmony and peace and abundance. It's done, it's done, it's done. You are divine. You, yes you, are divine. And there's nothing you could say, think, feel, or experience that would make you any less divine. And if you have the experience of being anything less than divine, it's simply a dream, a story. And like all dreams and all stories, you can choose to change it. You have the power to change it. Choose. 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 Please visit me on my website at nanice.com, Nanice.com, and it will be an experience, an awakening. There's tons of free articles right online. I'm adding more all the time. There are articles on fear, overcoming fear, and forgiveness, and enlightenment, and spirituality, and love, and faith, and there's some channeled work there. It just goes on and on and on. And you can also download a free book, my I Am book, which is a book about awakening and chronicles one of my experience of awakening to a higher level. And you can also download two free songs, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff. So it is designed for you and your experience and your waking up. Then email me. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know what you'd like to hear on the air. I want to hear from you. Chai with Nanice is about you. So just keep emailing me and letting me know what it is that you'd like to hear. Until next week, remember, I love you and I believe in you. And I wish for you that you have a grand and unlimited experience of believing in yourself and loving yourself. That is my wish for you. You have been listening to Chai with Nanice. I'm Nanice. See you next week.
Thank you for having Chai with Nanice. Please go to www.nanice.com for great free stuff that will empower you to live your best possible life. Free books, articles, shows, meditation audios, and so much more at nanice.com. That's Nanice.com. Nanice's books are also available in all major bookstores and Amazon. Check out The Infinite Power of You, Even Gandhi Got Hungry and Buddha Got Mad, Zest Point, Lip Prints, and many others by Nanice Ellis. To find out about one-on-one coaching and how Nanice can personally coach you to experience your best life possible, please email mybestlife@nanice.com.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And please join me on my website at nanice.com. That's Nanice.com. Thank you.